Hey guys, Chris here, founder of Rooted Music. Guys, at Rooted, our goal is to help you learn to play the music that you love by coaching you on the why and not just the what. And we're going to do just that in today's tutorial. But before we do, I'd love for you to subscribe to this channel here so you don't miss out on any of the new worship tutorials that we have for you. And I'd also love for you to check out the links in the description of this video where you can download our chord chart to this song for free, and also where you can learn more worship songs just like this for just $1 for the first 30 days. Check out those links and let's go ahead and dive into the video.
Hey everyone, this is JT with Rooted Music, here with you guys today for an advanced piano tutorial of the song Graves into Gardens by Elevation Worship, and this is from their album Graves into Gardens. And by the time this video is over today, you're going to know everything you need to know to play Graves into Gardens, and this is a really awesome song, a really fun song to play with a really fun piano part. So by the end of this video today, you're going to know it all, you'll be able to play it all, and I'm really excited that you're taking the time to watch this video today. But before we just dive headfirst into beat one of measure one in Graves into Gardens, there's a few pieces of information that we're going to look at that makes learning the song so much easier. So by spending this time on the front end of this video, when we actually get into the song, it's going to be so much easier to learn. So if you look in the lower right hand corner of the web page where you're watching this video, you're going to see we have a chord chart and a natural number chart attached there. So you can choose which one you'd rather use. If you prefer natural numbers, you can use that. If you prefer reading the letter names, you can use that. We also have the sheet music down there, and we have a rhythm chart which explains how long we hold each chord if you'd rather just focus on counting your way through instead of looking at where the chords line up with the lyrics. We have all of that provided. I'm going to be going through all of those documents today so you can kind of get a feel for how we could approach learning this song. So you may want to pull those up, and they may be helpful for you to kind of follow along as we're going through. So I'm going to start in the natural number chart. I'll be reading off the natural number chart today, but I'll be referring to both letter names and natural number names as we go through the video. And as you can see here, we have some information at the top of our number chart. And the first thing we're going to look at here is the key. And so the key for Graves into Gardens is B major, and B major is definitely not the first key you learn on the piano because we have 5 sharps in the key of B major. So we have a ton of black keys here, and we have our scale, the notes of our scale in the key of B, listed right here. So let's go ahead and play that. So we start with B, then we have C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, and then we finish with B. So as you can see, we have those 5 sharps. We got C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, and A sharp. So a lot of sharps here in the key of B. And like I mentioned, in the lower right-hand corner, we have the natural number chart. So I just read through those, the scale there, those notes of the scale in the letter names. But let's go ahead and build our scale in natural numbers as well, because if we're going to read the natural number chart, we got to make sure we're on the same page here with that. And so for natural numbers, all we do is we start on B, we call that 1, and we replace all of our letter names with numbers. So B is 1, C sharp is 2, D sharp is 3, E is 4, F sharp is 5, G sharp is 6, A sharp is 7, and then B, because it's 1 at the beginning, it's also going to be 1 again at the end. Let's go through that scale in numbers one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And there we go. Just like that. That's our B major scale in natural numbers. And those natural number names apply to the individual notes as well as the names of the chords built on those notes. So like I could call B, in this case, my first note of the scale or my 1 note, but I could also call a B major chord my 1 chord as we're going throughout this video. I'll be mostly referring to the chord names when it comes to natural numbers, but from time to time we may use the individual note names as well. Good, there we go. So we know our key, B major, 5 sharps. If you need to, take some time, get used to playing in that key because 5 sharps is a lot. Especially if you're a newer piano student, you may want to really take your time, get that down, and that'll help you kind of see the chords better when we're playing this song because every chord we're going to play in this song is built from these notes, and that's why knowing the scale is so important. All right, so here we are in the intro. We have our 1 chord, which is B. We have a 4 over 1 chord, which is E over B. And then in verse 1, we've got a 6 minor here, or G sharp minor. We have a 5 chord, which is F sharp. We have our 4 chord, which is E. Let's see if we have anything new. Everything here through the chorus looks the same. Keep going here in this verse after the chorus here. We have a 2 minor 7, or a C sharp minor 7. And then we're going to keep scrolling down. And for the sake of time, I'm going to scroll all the way to the end of this number chart here, because we've seen all the chords that we need to know except the very final few measures that we're going to play here. And it's right here. We have a 4-6 chord or an E6 chord at the end. And I do want to point out, as we're going through this song today, we're not going to play the entire recording. We're going to stop at the 540 mark, or around the 540 mark, kind of where that first kind of false finishes where it sounds like the song's over and then they go back into it a little more. We're going to stop there because that kind of second half of the recording, it's all the same stuff. You can just take what we're learning today in this video and apply it to those last couple minutes if you want to play the whole song in its entirety. So just clarify on that. When we say outro, slowing down, end here, when we get to that in the video, we're going to be stopping at about the 540 mark of the recording. Great, so we have 7 individual chords that you and I need to know to play Graves into Gardens, and we're going to build these chords in ascending scale order and really show you how to play these chords, get comfortable with them, get familiar with them, and then when we try to play them in rhythm and in sequence with the song, it's going to make it a lot easier. So let's go back up to the top here, and we're going to start with B or our 1 chord, but before we go through the chords, I'm going to explain just the basics of the chord in case maybe you're new or haven't done any of these videos in a long time and need just a little refresher here. So in our right hand for this, when we're playing in the block chord style, which is how we play off of a chord chart, block chords meaning we're playing a lot of notes at the same time here. Playing all these notes at the same time, actually. That's what block chord means, versus a broken chord where I'm playing them one at a time like that. We're going to play it in the block chord style. We're going to play triads in our right hand, and a triad is a chord of 3 notes. Every triad is going to have a root, a third, and the fifth. And let's go over these components really quick. So we call the first note, or the note that the chord is built upon, the root, because it is the foundation of our chord. So like for B or our 1 chord, B is going to be the root. Then the third of the chord is our middle note, and we call it the third. In this case, in our B or 1 chord, it's a D sharp. We call it the third because it's 3 letters away. It's the interval of a third away from the root, so we can count our letters here in this interval, B, C sharp, D sharp, 3 letters right there. So we know this is our third, and then the top note is called the fifth, and you guessed it because B to F sharp is the distance of a fifth. So we can count our letters, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, 5 letters, B, C, D, E, F, represented in this gap between B and F sharp, and so that's how we know it's our fifth. Also, note that these are all notes that we see here in our scale. So we got B, D sharp, F sharp, just like that. So that's going to be how we build our triads. We're going to be building all of these chords with these notes here from the scale, which is why knowing the scale is so important. So aside from playing the triad here in my right hand, I'm also going to play an octave of the root note in my left hand, down on the lower, kind of the bass end of the piano, which just really rounds out the piano sound, adds that nice deep low end. It sounds great. So we're playing that octave down here, and I've got that triad here in my right hand. So now that we know that every triad or every chord we're going to play has root, third, fifth, we're going to go ahead and build all of these chords. So let's do it. So we're going to start, we kind of just did it. We'll go through it again. We got B or our 1 chord. So B is the root, D sharp is the third, F sharp is the fifth, add the left hand, and there we go. That's B or our 1 chord. Next, we have C sharp minor 7, or our 2-7 chord, 2 minor 7. And what we're going to do here in the 7th chord, we actually have 4 notes. So we're going to play C sharp is the root, E is the third, G sharp is the fifth, and then B is our 7th. Just like that. That's C sharp minor 7. So just know for the purposes of this video, when we see a 7th chord, we're going to play 4 notes in our chord in our right hand there. Next, we have E or our 4 chord. So E is the root, G sharp's the third, B is the fifth. At the left hand, there we go. That's E or our 4 chord. Next, we have an E6 chord, and for an E6 chord, all we're going to do is we are going to add another note right here, this C sharp. So we're going to move our fingers just a little bit to make it easier. We got E is the root, G sharp's the third, B is the fifth, and then C sharp is the 6th right here. And this is our E6 or 4-6 chord. In theory, you could take out the 5th if you wanted to, and just play root, third, 6th if you want to, or if you want to leave that 5th in, you also could do that as well. But that's how we play our E6 or our 4-6 chord. Next, we have an E over B or 4 over 1, and let's talk about slash chords here, because these may be a little bit tricky to some of you watching this video today, but slash chords, once we understand what's going on with each of the letters or numbers, they're actually really easy to play. So as you can see here, we'll look at this one in verse 1 because it doesn't have the other chords attached to it. So we've got a 4 before the slash and a 1 after the slash, or E in front of the slash and B behind it, if you're looking at the letter chart. And so here, the first letter or number tells us what we're playing in the right hand for every slash chord we'll ever see. First letter or number is in the right hand, and the second letter or number tells us what we're playing in the left hand. So because we have a 4 over 1, or E over B, we're going to play that E triad we just built right here, or our 4 chord in our right hand. But instead of playing E down here in my left hand, I'm going to play B in my left hand here. And by providing this B down here in the left hand, it just provides a different sound with this E chord on top here, or having that 1 note of our scale down here with that 4 chord up top. It just has a nice different sound than just playing our regular E or 4 chord there. So that's how we play slash chords. What's the first number or letter is what we're playing in the right hand. Second letter or number is what we're playing in the left hand. Next, we have our 5 chord or F sharp. We got F sharp's the root, A sharp's the third, and C sharp is the fifth. Then we're at our left hand. There we go, that's F sharp or our 5 chord. Then the last chord we need to know is our G sharp minor or our 6 chord. We got G sharp's the root, B is the third, D sharp is the fifth at the left hand. And there we go. That is G sharp minor or our 6 chord. And that's it. Those are the 7 chords we need to know. So let's go through those again one more time. So we have B or our 1 chord. We have C sharp minor 7 or our 2/7 chord. And we have E or our 4 chord. And we have E6 or our 4/6 chord. We have E over B or 4/1. Then we have F sharp or our 5 chord. And then we finish with G sharp minor or our 6 chord. And there we go. Those are the 7 chords you need to know to play Graves into Gardens. And we just played all of those chords in root position, meaning that the root or the namesake of the chord is the lowest note in the right hand. But actually, if we invert some of these chords, meaning we're going to play them the same notes but play them in a different order, it's going to make playing this song a lot more efficient. And I actually do that in the playthrough that you'll see at the end of this video. And I think it'd be good for us to talk through these inversions really quick. So let's talk about chord inversions. Then I'm going to show you which inversions I think are the most efficient and the most helpful to play. So like I said, we have our triad here, and we have 3 different positions that we can play each triad in. So this is what we call root position, because the root or the namesake of the chord is the lowest note. But I could take this B, put it up here, and play B, D sharp, F sharp, just like this. And this is still a B chord. It's still a 1 chord. It's the same notes, but now just the notes are in a different order. And when I have the third of the chord on the bottom in my right hand, this is what we call first inversion. So first inversion, remember, third of the chord's on the bottom. Then I could take this D sharp, put it up here, and play B, D sharp, F sharp like this. And it's still a B chord, still a 1 chord, but now it's in second inversion because the fifth of the chord is now the lowest note that we play in our right hand. So we have root position, first inversion, and second inversion, just like that. And by using inversions, it makes my piano playing a lot more efficient. I can keep my right hand generally in the same spot on the piano, don't have to move too much. And that's really helpful for me if I'm playing piano while leading worship, because I want to visually engage with the congregation or the people there as well. I don't want to just be looking at my hands the entire time. And so by being able to not have to move as much, it makes me as a worship leader just a lot more able to look out and visually engage. And that's what we want when we're leading worship. If you're playing the song in a church setting, ideally, you don't want to be just head down looking at your hands the entire time as well. So we're going to go through the chords one more time, but I'm going to show you the inversions that I play that I think make this song a lot easier to play. So we'll start with B or a 1 chord, just like this. And for B, what we're going to do is we are going to move this one into second inversion right here. So we're going to take our F sharp and move it down an octave and play it just like that. So there we go. So B in second inversion. Now we're going to go to our C sharp minor 7 right here. Here's our C sharp minor 7. We have 4 notes here. And what we're going to do is we're going to move the G sharp and the B down. So we're going to play our 2 chord or our C sharp minor 7 just like this. So we've got C sharp, E, G sharp, and B right there. And the fifth of the chord is on the bottom, which is why we call it second inversion right there. Very good. And next we have our 4 chord or E. We're going to play this one in first inversion. So we're going to take the B and the G sharp and move them down. So we got G sharp, B, E here. So this is now how I'm going to play for the rest of this video. I'm going to play that 4 chord there. Then we have our 4/6 chord. All we're going to do is just add the C sharp right here. So E6 or 4/6 right here. And then for E over B, it's the same thing. We're going to keep our first inverted E right here or 4 chord. Then we're just going to play B or our 1 in our left hand. So here's E over B or 4/1 right here. Then we're going to keep our F sharp in root position right here. Nice and easy to get to right there. Root position, we'll keep it there. Then we have our G sharp minor or a 6 chord. We'll also play in root position just like that. So there we go. And I think by playing in these inversions, it helps me keep my right hand in the middle C and maybe just a little bit below position on the piano, which I think is going to give me the best sound, especially if I'm playing by myself. I want to be playing in this region with my right hand here just because that low end just sounds really, really good on it if you're playing on your own. But then also it just makes it a lot more efficient. And here's why. So let's take our 4 chord or E in this case. We have our E. And then if we want to move, say, to a 6 chord, so move from our 4 chord or E to our 6 chord or G sharp minor, all I have to do is move this E to D sharp right there. So here's my 6 chord, and then here's my 4 chord. Pretty easy transition right there. So, and we see that a lot. We go from our 6 chord to our 4 chord, and that's just really easy. My left hand still has to move a little bit to reach that octave, but my right hand, G sharp minor 6 chord, D or 4 chord right there. So that's why those inversions come in handy. So you can rewind that section. I know we just covered a lot. We covered all the chords, talked about all the inversions. I'm going to be playing with these inversions for the rest of the video, so definitely get used to those inversions. If you're still more comfortable playing in root position, that's totally fine. You can do that, but I do think playing with these inversions in the long run is going to make this song a lot more efficient and a lot easier. So definitely give them a shot. And I know we just covered a lot there, so thanks for hanging in there on that. Also, I want to point out that if any of what we've covered to this point was confusing, or you were just a little lost maybe on how to build the chords, how do we know that the key of B has 5 sharps, all of that, we have in our piano tutorial library an informational video on the key of B major. It's about 20 to 25 minutes, and it tells you everything you need to know about B. Again, why we have 5 sharps in the key of B, how do we know that those are the notes of the key of B, talks about the differences between major chords, minor chords, diminished chords, talks about natural numbers, everything you would want to know about the key of B. And so definitely I recommend you watch that because it's going to help you be able to play Graves in the Gardens a lot better. But one thing that's really cool about that video is you're going to learn principles of harmony that apply to every song and every key. So that video is not only going to help you for Graves in the Gardens, but every song you're ever going to learn with us at Rooted, watching that video is going to give you some basic foundations and principles that you can use for every song and every key. So definitely go check that out, especially if you were lost in any of what we were doing just there. Definitely go check that out, and I think you'll come back to this video after watching that, and you'll be able to keep up a lot better. All right, so now that we've covered all the harmonic elements of Graves in the Gardens, we've covered our key, we know our chords. Let's go ahead now and look at the rhythmic elements of Graves in the Gardens. So the time signature for Graves in the Gardens is 6/8, and the time signature is really important because it really provides the rhythmic framework and the structure for the song. We know how the beats are going to be grouped, how the notes are going to be grouped as we're going through any song. Every song that you ever play has a time signature, and this one is 6/8, and these numbers tell us 2 really important things. The first number in any time signature always tells us the number of beats per measure. So in Graves in the Gardens, we have 6 beats per measure right here, and the second number tells us which kind of note is considered to be 1 beat. And so we have an 8 here on this, so that means an 8th note is considered to be 1 beat. So every measure will have equal to 6 8th notes worth of time, and 6/8 is what we call a compound meter. So simply, and you can probably tell just from listening to this song, but in a lot of key signatures like 4/4 and 3/4, our 8th notes are in groups of 2, right? So we count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But in 6/8, we're actually grouping our 8th notes in groups of 3. So instead of 3 groups of 2 8th notes to get to 6, we're doing 2 groups of 3 8th notes. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's what makes 6/8 have that feel that it does, kind of like shuffle, maybe just more of a really relaxed kind of swing feel to it. And that's what 6/8 is. We have 2 groups of 3 8th notes. So just remember that as we're going through, beats 1 and 4 are going to be the primary beats of our measures. And if you don't know what a measure is, simply a measure is how we break the song down into really small pieces, kind of like how a really long book gets broken up into chapters. And the time signature tells us what we're trying to fit inside one measure, and that's why it's important for us to know our time signature. Good, so 6/8 there, and then our tempo is 70 beats per minute, and the tempo determines how fast we count through our measures. So when I was saying 6/8 is a compound meter, you heard me count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The tempo determines how fast we count through those beats. So 70 beats per minute, it's going to seem a little bit, when we think of just the spectrum of BPM, 70 is going to seem a little bit slower maybe. But this song is actually written in a way that has a really good energy and a really fast feel. Like, I was shocked when I looked at this and saw it's 70 beats per minute. I figured it would be a lot faster. But because we're in a 6/8 time and just the way the song's written, it feels much faster than 70 beats per minute. So if you're practicing at home or want to practice with the recording, just make sure maybe you have a metronome. Set that metronome. Get used to how fast 70 beats per minute is in 6/8 time. And then you'll have it down there, and you'll be able to play it right along with the recording there. Good. Okay, so now we've talked about our key. We know the notes of the scale. We've talked about our chords. We've got our time signature and tempo. Let's look here at the song order or the form of the song and just walk through what we're doing here. Like I mentioned earlier, we are going to stop at about the 5:40 mark in the recording. We're not going to play the whole thing there, because it just kind of repeats those same sections over again there. But you can certainly add on to that if you would like to. But we're just going to stop at about the 5:40 mark here. But we have our intro. Verse 1, chorus, a turnaround. Verse 2, 2 choruses, an interlude. Bridge 1, 2 times. Bridge 2, a tag. 2 choruses, 2 bridges, 2 tags, and then the outro, and that's where we'll stop at the 5:40 mark. So we got a lot going on here in this song. However, some of these sections are pretty repetitive, so once we learn them the first time, then the second time we go through them, it's all the same. So we'll be able to get through each individual part of this song pretty quickly. So now, like I said, we're going to go through each individual section of the song, go through the entirety of the song, break it all down, teach you how to do it. So we've covered everything we need to know. So let's come on down to the intro and verse 1 here. But before we just go into the music, I want to make sure we're all on the same page when it comes to reading a chord chart or a number chart. So let's look here in verse 1, and you're going to see these chords lined up in specific places with the lyrics, and these are what we call the chord changes. So the thing about a chord chart or a number chart, it doesn't necessarily tell us rhythmically how we're going to put it all together. It just tells us in relation to which word we change the chords. So we kind of have to know the words and know the melody to be able to really read off of a chord chart or a number chart really well. So now what I want to do is just go through these first couple lines of verse 1 to show you how to read off of a chord chart or number chart. So I'm going to say the words, and then I'm going to play these chords when I get to those words as I say them. So here it is. 1, 2, 3. I search the world, but it couldn't fill me. Man's empty praise and treasures that fade are never enough. Just like that. So that's how I would go through reading off of a chord chart or number chart if I was just lining up the chord changes in relationship to where they line up in the lyrics. But what do we do in a section like here in the intro where we don't have lyrics? Well, at Rooted, we've got a system that makes it really easy to play through instrumental sections and get it right every single time. So you're going to see we have 4 groups of chords here. Each one of these letters or numbers separated by a space indicates one measure. So in the intro, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 measures. And then in like measures 2 and 4 here in our intro, you're going to see we have a 1 chord connected to a 4 over 1 or a B chord connected to E over B. And any group of chords that are connected by a dash means they share the same measure. Just like that. So these chords share the same measure. Most of the times that measure split 50-50. Sometimes it's not. And so we have something here as well in the lower right-hand corner of the web page where you're watching this video called our rhythm chart. Let's pop over there and talk about it. So here, this rhythm chart is going to look a lot like a chord chart here, but the rhythm chart can really lock down which beats we're playing on. I'm going to be kind of referring to this. I'm not so much going to be showing you this rhythm chart here throughout the rest of this video, but I'll be referring to how we count through this. I'll just kind of show you how to play it really quick. So each one of these boxes here is our measure. So it's very similar to what we have up here. We've just put it in a measure, and then these numbers in italics above these chords are which beat you're going to change on. So like over here in our intro, we have a 1 chord for a measure, and then we have a 1 and a 4 over 1 in the next measure. And that's what we have here in our rhythm chart as well. So on beat 4, I'm going to switch to this. And so if I'm counting through this intro here in the rhythm chart, it goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And those indicate the chord changes. If I wanted to play more rhythmically, I could. So if I want to do like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I wanted to do like an 8th note pattern in the right hand, I could do something like that, or could kind of make whatever I wanted there as long as I fit within the general structure and the general idea of what's going on in the song here. But that's how we read through our rhythm chart here. So we've provided that. It goes through section by section. It's like here's verse 1. If you have a measure that doesn't have a number on top, that means you're going to play it on beat 1 and play the whole way across. And this especially is helpful once we get down to like the bridges down here, the interludes and stuff. I think that'll really help you kind of get through that there. So that's how we read our rhythm chart, which we've provided for you in the lower right-hand corner as well. And that's kind of just a supplement to the chord charts or number charts that we're going to be using. And that's just going to be a supplement to what we're doing in the chord chart or letter chart. So if you'd rather read just by kind of reading the chord changes in relation to the lyrics, totally fine. If you'd rather count through it, we've got that for you as well. All right, so now that we've covered the basics and just making sure we're on the same page when it comes to reading a chord chart and talking about how we can use the rhythm chart to kind of help us out as well if we'd rather count through it instead of playing our chords based on where they line up in the lyrics, we're ready to start. So now let's just go through that intro again. I kind of already did it, but let's just go through it so we can say we officially did it. I'm going to play through it, and I'm going to count through it, and then we'll break it down. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just like that. So here in our intro, we got 4 total measures. We got our 1/4 B for a measure. Then we have the first 3 beats of our second measure, still on that 1/4 B. Then on beat 4, because remember in 6/8 time. So the last 3 beats, beats 4, 5, and 6 of our second measure here, we're going to switch to our E over B, or 4 over 1. And then we repeat that group of 2 measures again right there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 total measures. Nothing too crazy. This is really acoustic guitar kind of driving this section. in the actual note-for-note piano part, you're going to see we're really just holding out some really low notes down here on the piano. So let's actually go to that note-for-note piano part here in the sheet music. We've also provided that. So if you'd rather play the actual part from the recording, you can do that as well. And so we'll see here we've got our chord changes lined up over the measures here, which is helpful. These are the same chord changes you see in the rhythm chart and in the chord chart or number chart as well. So that's super helpful. So here we got a measure of B, or our one chord. Then we're going to just kind of sit on this B. Then this does switch to the E over B in the acoustic guitar part, but in the piano part, they're just hanging out on Bs the whole time, just playing really low down here, just like that. And then measures 3 and 4 got the same thing there. So nothing too crazy there in the sheet music. So now let's come on back and let's go to verse 1. And I'm going to play through verse 1. I'm going to say the lyrics and then we'll break it down. So here it is. 1, 2, 3, I searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. Man's empty praise and treasures that fade are never enough. Keep coming down here. Then you came along and put me back together, and every desire is now satisfied here in your love. And there we go, just like that. That was verse 1 in its entirety, and verse 1 is pretty long. We have 16 total measures here in verse 1, and we're playing the same, pretty much the same chord progression of 8 measures total 2 times in a row. So let's go through it and we'll break it down. So here we start verse 1 on the word world. We have our 1 quarter B on the word world. And I just want to talk about this for a second. When you heard me count in, you heard me go 1, 2, 3, I searched the world, and play right there. So these words, I searched the, is what we call pickup notes. And a pickup note simply means is we're borrowing beats from a previous measure because the way the melody's written or the way the words are written doesn't start right on beat 1. Like each section is not going to start right on beat 1 of the first full measure. So I searched these words are really being sung over the last couple beats of our final measure up here. So that's why we call them pickup notes. Again, we're just borrowing beats from another measure. So verse 1, we're stealing or borrowing those last couple beats of this intro final measure up here, just so we got a little bit of that overlap there. So just want to point that out. All of these sections lyrically are probably going to have pickup notes where some of the words are overlapping with the last couple beats of the last measure of the previous section. So that shouldn't throw you off too much, but just want to talk about why I counted it in the way that I did there. So we got our 1 quarter B on world. We're going to play that for 1.5 measures. So we got a full measure here, then we got 3 extra beats, and then on beat 4 of our second measure, we're going to go to this 4 over 1 or E over B on it for 3 beats. Then we go back to our 1 chord or B on fill for 2 full measures. So we got 4 total measures right here. Then we come down here to man's empty praise, and on praise we're going to go to our G sharp minor or our 6th chord for 1 measure. Then we have our 5 chord or F sharp on fade for a measure. And then we come down here to our 4 chord or E on enough, and it really does matter which syllable you put those chord changes on. So when you see like a word kind of split up like this with a dash in between, this means we're playing our 4 chord on the nuff of enough. Don't play it on the E of enough because then it's going to just not be exactly lined up. So on the nuff of enough there, and we're going to hold that for 2 measures. So that's the first half of verse 1, so 8 total measures there. Then we're going to pretty much repeat the same thing, except you'll note we have just a 4 chord or E here instead of 4 over 1 or E over B, but everything else is going to be the same. So we have our 1 quarter B on long of a long for 1.5 measures. In the second half of measure 2, we got our 4 chord or E on put for 3 beats. Then we go to our B chord or 1 chord on together for 2 measures. Then we come down to our 6 chord or G sharp minor on desire for a measure. Got our 5 chord or F sharp on fide of satisfied for a measure. We got our 4 chord or E on love for 2 measures. So we got 16 total measures going on there. So it's a long verse, but thankfully it's kind of just the same thing. We can cut it in half at the same chord progression of 8 measures 2 times in a row there. The only difference is we have a 4 over 1 here or E over B, and we only have just a regular 4 or an E down there. Good, so now let's look over at the sheet music and just see what's going on here. We're not going to play through the sheet music. I'm going to play through it at the end of this video so you can see how it all lines up with the recording. But for right now, we're just going to more so talk through some of the more difficult parts of the sheet music. So here in verse 1, just got a lot of tied notes. We're hanging out, holding a lot of these notes throughout. You can see we got our G sharp minor, F sharp, and E here. So we got some chords there, but nothing too crazy. Keep scrolling down. A lot of tied notes. Just remember with tied notes, we play the front note and we add on the back half here. So our dotted half note here gets all 6/8 notes in this measure, but we're going to tie this, meaning we're not going to play this one. We're going to hold it down through this next measure as well. So we play this one for a total of 12 beats instead of 6. Just remember tied notes, add up the note values, but you only play the front one. Good. So that's pretty much verse 1 in the sheet music. Nothing too crazy. So for the sake of time, we'll skip over kind of anything else there because it's pretty simple. So now let's move on to the chorus, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did previously. I'm going to play through it, say the words, and then we'll break it down. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. And there we go. Just like that. That's how we play through the chorus. Pretty simple. Definitely not as many chord changes as we had in the verse. All right, so now let's go ahead and break it down. So the chorus here, we have a total of 6 measures in this chorus. Let's go ahead and break it down. So we start with our 1 chord or B on nothing here. And just like we talked about the pickup notes here, in verse 1, we got pickup notes to the oh, there's not. It's like, so oh, there's. Those are our pickup notes. And then on nothing, we're going to play that 1 chord or B there. And we're going to hold that for 2 measures. Then we come down to our 6 chord or G sharp minor on the next nothing for 2 measures. Then we have our 4 chord or E on the next nothing here. Lord, there's nothing there for 2 measures. And then if you look here, we go back to our 1 chord or B on U. Nothing is better than you. But you're going to see here we have a little note that says first measure of turnaround. And so what's happened here is that now on the back end of the chorus, the final word of the chorus is now overlapping with beat 1 of the next section. So it's kind of like the opposite of pickup notes. We're actually like the chorus is kind of overextending its stay by a couple extra beats there. And so that's what's going on there. So we want to point this out, that this chord and this right here are the exact same chord. We just wanted to put it in both spots to know that this is the turnaround here technically from a counting perspective in measures, but also that this 1 chord does happen. We change chords there on that last word U. So just remember when you're going through that this little note here reminds you this is the first measure of the turnaround. So this and this are the same. So let's look at the sheet music and see what we have going on here in the chorus. And you're going to see that we have a lot of octaves. This song in the sheet music, your hands are moving around quite a bit. You're moving up and down the keyboard, playing a lot of different octaves. So here, you'll be playing that pretty low down here, but then your right hand will be up here playing a lot. And we'll see that a lot throughout the choruses in this song. So just be aware of knowing which octaves you're playing here. But it's pretty simple there. Right hand's going to be kind of playing the same thing. Left hand, the chords are moving there more so in those 6 measures. And then we come down to our turnaround, and it's going to be pretty similar to what we saw in that intro in verse 1 there. And so now if we look at the turnaround in the chord chart here, we're going to see that it looks exactly the same as the intro, and that's because it is. So for the sake of time, we can skip over this. We've already seen this. We know how to play it. Got 4 total measures, and we've already broken down how to go through that. So for the sake of time, we'll move on. So good. Let's come to verse 2 now. And I'm going to show you one small difference in verse 2, but for the sake of time, we can pretty much skip over this as well because we've seen pretty much everything we need to know about verse 2 because it's the same as verse 1 except for one major difference. So remember, verse 1 had 16 total measures. Verse 2 also has 16 total measures, and we can break it up into 2 sections of 8 measures. The first section of 8 measures in verse 2 plays the exact same as the first 8 up here, except we don't have a 4/1 here. We just have a 4 chord, or E over B. We have E here instead. So that's the only difference there. Then when we come down to the second half of verse 2, we do have one difference. And here, instead of having a 4 chord or E, this is the only time in the song we see that 2 minor 7 or a C sharp minor 7. So I'm going to play through the back half of verse 2 here and show you what this looks like with that C sharp minor 7 or the 2 minor 7 there. So here it is. 1, 'cause the God of the mountain is the God of the valley, and there's not a place your mercy and grace won't find me again. Just like that. So it's the exact same rhythms, counting, everything's the same. The only thing is we swapped out the 4 chord or E that we previously had in the back half of verse 1. We now have our 2 or a C sharp minor there instead. So just be aware of that, but the rhythms are the same. The rest of it's all the same. We just moved that 1 chord there. So good. So for the sake of time, like I said, we can kind of skip over the majority of verse 2 because we've already done it. Let's look in the sheet music and just see what's going on here in verse 2. Make sure we don't have anything super crazy This measure is a little tough here. It's pretty syncopated. You can refer to the playthrough at the end of this video and watch me play through this here. So this can go a little fast, so just be aware of that. A lot of tied notes here too, so be aware of that. Then here we got that C sharp minor 7 right there in the sheet music as well, so be aware of that. We got some moving octaves here. Also take note of that, but nothing super crazy. Again, you can always look to the playthrough at the end if you have any questions on how to play through this part in the sheet music. So now we've finished up with verse 2. Let's come on now down to the next chorus. And here in this chorus, it's going to play the exact same as the chorus we previously played, except if you note that we don't have that first measure of turnaround here anymore. So what's going on here, it's the same chord progression, got a 1, 6, 4, 1, or B, G sharp minor, E, B, but we're going to hold this for 2 measures. So it's just kind of adding on those 2 extra measures there. So for the sake of time, we'll skip over that. Just know we got 8 total measures here. This gets 2 measures, this gets 2 measures, this gets 2 measures, just like previously before, but now we're going to hold this U for 2 measures there at the end. And the reason we do that is because we repeat the chorus here again as well. So this chorus repeat now is going to play exactly like the first time through the chorus, where we have this last 1 chord or B on U is going to be this first measure of our next section. So we have this double chorus here in a row. So just point out that, again, we got 8 measures in this one, and technically this one's going to be 6 measures because we're overlapping with the first measure of that next section as well. So again, they play pretty much the same, but just note that could kind of catch you off guard if you're not expecting that. Let's look in the sheet music now, see what's going on in this double chorus that we have here. Pretty much the same thing. We've got octaves in the left hand, octaves in the right hand. Moving along, the left hand really follows the chord changes throughout. Right hand's kind of playing the same thing there. There's that first time through our double chorus. Then here, it's pretty much almost a 1-for-1 repeat there. So there's the second time through that double chorus there. Note that we have 8 measures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 here. And we only have 6 in this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But like I said, that follows through because remember, this is our first measure of the interlude, which is this section right here. So now we've talked about the double chorus in the chord chart, and now we've talked about it in the sheet music. Let's go ahead and start looking at the interlude here. All right, so here we are at the interlude. I'm going to go ahead and play through it, and then we'll break it down. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just like that. And so this is kind of the main, like the most distinct part of the whole song is this bridge we're building in, where we've got those big hits on 4, 5, 6 and those measures. So if you know this song really well, you'll know that this interlude leading into the bridge and then the subsequent bridges after, it's kind of the main idea. It's the most distinct part about the song, and it's really what makes this song super fun. So we have here in this interlude, it's a pretty simple chord progression. We're just moving between B and E, but rhythmically we have something really distinct going on that we have to make sure we get this right, because this is really what contributes to the energy of this song. So in the first measure of the interlude, we have our 1 chord or B, so we're just going to play it for 6 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When we get to measure 2, we're going to play on beat 1, 1, 2, 3. Then when we get to beat 4 of our second measure, where we switch to that 4 or E chord, we're going to have to play 3 times in a row. 4, 5, 6, and then we go back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so that 4, 5, 6, 1, the 4, 5, 6, 1, just like that, that really drives this song rhythmically through this bridge section. You got the drums going, and it just really is a really fun part of the song. So when you're playing this in the interlude and the bridges, just remember when we go to these 4 chords here, we got to hit 4, 5, 6, 1, just like that. Good, let's look at the sheet music here. And we'll see the same thing here in the interlude. We got our B, or 1 chord for a measure. Then here's that 4, 5, 6. We've got an octave up here in our right hand doing the 4, 5, 6. But you'll see that there too. So 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Again, 4, 5, 6. So just make sure you're doing that and playing along with the band. It's almost impossible to not play it that way when you're playing along with the recording, but just want to stress that we need to make sure we've got those chords there on 4, 5, 6. Make it really big, make it really fun, and rhythmically that just adds so much to this song. Good, so we've covered the interlude. Let's come on down to bridge 1. I'm going to say the lyrics and I'll play through it, and then we'll break it down. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You turn mourning to dancing. ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. Just like that. There we go. So bridge 1 has a total of 8 measures in it. And these first 4 measures are going to be just like what we saw up here in the interlude, just like that. So we have our one chord before the word you. We're going to hold that for 1.5 measures. Then after dancing, we got those 3 hits in a row on beats 4, 5, and 6 of the second measure with our 4-quarter E. So same thing, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just like that. And that rhythmic pattern is going to repeat right here in the second line. So our 1-quarter B before U for 1.5 measures, then 4, 5, 6 of that fourth total measure now of our bridge. After the word ashes, we got our 4 E there for those 3 hits right there. Then we come down to our 1-quarter B before the word you, and it's that you turn shame into glory. And this is going to be held for 2 full measures. So we got 2 measures here total, so measures 5 and 6 of the bridge. Then our 7th measure right here, we go to our G sharp minor on only for 2 beats. Then we go to our 4-chord or E on the word one for 2 beats. And then we finish with our 1-quarter B on the word can. So these go a little faster here. This is 7th measure, 8th measure right there. And that's bridge 1. Let's go to the sheet music, go through it. It's going to be pretty similar to what we did in the interlude. And again, just note our right hand's really hopping a bunch of octaves. So when you're seeing me play through it at the end here, we're going to start here, kind of middle C, get the higher octave, and then we come down to the low octave here, 2, 4, 5, 6. So this goes pretty quick. So you're hopping the octaves. If that's too tough, you can just keep it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Keep it up here. That would work just as well. Or if you want to just keep it in this kind of middle C area the whole time and then get to the 4, 5, 6 up here, you could do that as well. But good. So that's kind of repeating there. We see then we got our B for 2 measures, and we got that G sharp and E, or our 6 and 4 chords sharing that measure right there. So that's the bridge. Nothing too crazy going on there. So let's come on back to the chord chart here. And we have a 1-for-1 repeat of bridge 1. So we do bridge 1 2 times in a row, same chords, same lyrics, same rhythms, same everything. So for the sake of time, we can skip over that. Then we come down to bridge 2 now, and bridge 2 is going to play the exact same way that bridge 1 did. The only thing that's different about bridge 2 are the lyrics. So for the sake of time, we can also skip over this because it's same chords, same rhythms, same everything, just different words. But let's go ahead and look at the sheet music now on that repeat of bridge 1 and bridge 2 and see if we have anything really new we need to talk about. So that's the repeat of bridge 1. It looks about the same. Bridge 2, we might have some different voicings, maybe moving some of those B chords a little higher, things like that, but it's rhythmically pretty much going to play the same thing. So bridge 1 and bridge 2, whether you're in the chord chart or the sheet music, are going to be roughly the same. The only thing that's different between the 2 sections are the words. So great. So we'll move on from those. And then after that, we come down to this tag. And what a tag section is, it's like a repeat, but we don't want to repeat the whole thing. So most times when you see a tag in a song, you're just repeating the last line or the last 2 or maybe last 4 measures of a section. So in this tag here, we are just simply repeating the last couple measures right here. So I'm going to play through this tag just to show you how it goes. Here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're the only one who can. Just like that. Now here, this tag is a little bit different though, because we have an extra 1 chord or an extra B listed right here, which tells us we have an extra measure. So this, you're the only one who can here, is 2 total measures. Here, that holds true, but then we have 1 extra. We hold 1 extra measure of B or our 1 chord out. So this tag section here, instead of the last line of the bridge being 2 measures, we have 3 measures here on that tag. So just be aware of that. So we just hold this 1 chord of B for 1 extra measure at the end of the tag. And we can see that here as well. Here's the last 2 measures of bridge 2. And then sure enough, we have 1, 2, 3 total measures here in the tag, just like that. All right, so that's how we finish the tag there. Let's move on down to the chorus. And now in this chorus, it's going to play the exact same way that we previously played through the choruses, except now the band has cut out. So the energy is a lot lower now. And then we're going to eventually build it back up. So we've got a chorus here. It's 8 total measures, plays the same way just like we did on that first chorus of our double chorus there. And we played the 8 total measures here because we have a double chorus here as well. But now the band has built back up, and this repeat of our double chorus here now has really just picked up an energy. And this is going to play the exact same way as the chorus did previously, except for the very end here. Instead of having 2 measures of B, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to go back into that interlude and bridge, kind of that rhythmic pattern there where we have the 4, 5, 6 on those hits. So when we get to the nothing is better than you, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's going to lead us into bridge 2 again. So that's the only difference between that, but in regards to the where the chord changes line up and the chord progressions and the rhythms, everything else is the same. Just note here, we're going to, that very last measure, the 8th measure of this repeat of the chorus here on 4, 5, 6, we're going to hit those 4 chords or E's there to take us back into the bridge. And that's pretty obvious in the recording, so you'll be able to find that no problems. So let's look in the sheet music and see what's going on here in this chorus. So this is our down chorus here. And the part is a little bit more laid back here. We have a few little just passing tones here that really just kind of make this a little bit more melodic of a piano part in that down chorus. And then when we repeat the chorus, it's going to be pretty much what we played previously. So nothing too crazy here. And as you can see, we have 4, 5, 6. We're playing those E chords there, or our 4 chords there as well. Good, let's come on back to bridge 2. And here we are in bridge 2. And bridge 2 is going to play the exact same way that bridge 2 did earlier. So nothing new here, so we'll skip over that. And then we repeat it again. And bridge 2 is going to play the exact same way it did previously and before we went to that down chorus there as well. So bridge 2, 2 times in a row there. It's the same as what we've already done. So for the sake of time, we'll move on. Let's look in the sheet music here. And we do have just some more octaves jumping here. So if you want to follow along just for a second, in bridge 2, we start here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we do go up there. So our right hand's going to be hopping all over the place here again in these repeats of bridge 2 after that double chorus. But overall, nothing too crazy, nothing we haven't seen before, just a little bit of a variation on it. All right, so now we've just finished bridge 2. 2 times in a row, we come down to this tag here, and we're going to tag the last line of bridge 2 2 more times. Here we have, so we sang, you're the only one who can, as the end of bridge 2, and we tag it, you're the only one who can. This is a note for note, line for line, the exact same thing here. 2 measures here. Then we come down to this tag here, you're the only one who can. And this is where it really starts, the band kind of starts to slow down, and the hits, if you rhythmically want to put it on, they kind of follow the kind of the syllables here. So you're the only one who can, just like that. You can follow along with that if you want there, but just 2 measures here. Also want to point out that technically can here, this is the first measure of our outro that we see down here as well. So let's look now at these tags here. So we got, here's a tag, 2 measures, here's a tag, and then the outro, like I said, because the first measure of the outro starts right here. So really, you could almost think of this tag as just one measure, and that's it by itself. Just like this one measure here, then this measure and this here are the same there. So good. So again, we got a tag here. That's why this first tag has 2 total measures. Then that's why this one, it only seems like it has 1. But just remember that outro, the B from the outro and the lyrics can of the tag there overlap there. That's just the way they wrote the song. It's just a little, maybe a little more complicated than what we've done previously, but it's still not too hard to follow there. So just, we made that note though, just so you know where those line up. And then here we have the outro. We have 3 total measures. The band's really starting to slow down here. And I'm just going to play through this one time so you can see it. So here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. And as you can note there, where it says end here on this last 1 chord, we're going to hold that out because the band does a huge kind of crash ending. Cymbals are crashing, everybody's cheering. And then you kind of think that's the end of the song, and that's where we're going to stop. But then the recording keeps going through the bridges a couple more times there. But we're going to stop here, and that's about the 5:40 mark in the recording. Let's look at the sheet music here and see if we have anything super crazy going on. Nope, we're just kind of playing hit, 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 and then we have 4, 5, 6, 1 right there at the end. So just be aware of that. We are slowing down quite a bit there. So if you're playing to like a metronome, the metronome is probably not going to be super helpful at that point because your metronome's still going at 70, and you start to slow down, you're gonna get off the metronome. You won't line up exactly, and that's expected when you slow down. But when you're playing to the recording, you can kind of follow along with that. But there we go. So we have just to go through it here in the chord chart one time. Got 3 beats here on that first 1 quarter B. Then we have 3 beats of our 4 quarter E. Then we have, in this next measure, we have 3 beats of our 1 chord or B. Then we have our 4-6. This is the only time we see that 4-6 or E6 chord in the whole song right here at the end for 3 beats here, and then we finish and hold out that 1 chord or B. But there we go. We've made it all the way through Graves in the Gardens. You guys know everything you need to know, and if you want to keep going with the recording and play those bridges again, you know everything you need to know to keep going, so you are going to do great with that. Or if you want to stop here, that's totally fine too. And there we go. We've made it to the end of the song. You guys did great. You hung in there. You now know everything you need to know to play Graves into Gardens. And this is a really fun song to play. It's not the easiest song to play in the world, but it's not super complicated either. But we may have covered things today in this video that you have never seen before, or you may have some questions about. So below this video, we have a comment box where you can leave a question, and we'd love to hear from you. There's no such thing as a silly question, and if you don't know the answer, you don't know. So please ask us. We're here to help. We would love to chat with you on that. Also, if you watch this video, everything's making sense, and you're just crushing it, let us know. We'd love to hear that positive feedback as well.
Guys, thanks so much for joining us today in this tutorial. I hope you really enjoyed it and learned a lot through it. Make sure to subscribe to our channel here so you don't miss any of the new tutorials we have coming up. And make sure to check out those links in the description of this video so you don't miss out on the chord chart and you don't miss out on more and more worship song coaching for just $1 for the first 30 days. Check out those links, and we'll see you soon.